So yeah, I'm Adam Patterson, economist apprentice at Amazon. Been here for about 5 months now. So I'm still kind of learning the ropes and I learn a lot every day. I'll talk about that on kind of like my second slides. But I'm still developing skills. It really never stops. That's what I'm going to suggest to everyone else. Okay, perfect. So everyone can see my screen here. So it's going to talk today a little bit about data-driven decision making at Amazon and kind of what we do. The first couple slides be about myself, and then I'll talk just a little bit about data visualizations, some basic dashboarding, things of that nature. And then I want to get into A/B testing, because that's really how a lot of decisions here are made through data. So I'm not going to really get too much into the nuts and bolts of stats, but I just kind of want to motivate you and give you an overview of what economist really does here, because it's a lot of A/B testing, and a lot of that comes from our training and sampling and making sure the standard errors are essentially accounted for when we report our results, so we know that our results are actually causal. So that's really the main difference between an economist and a data scientist. Data scientist is more interested in prediction. An economist, we're try to get more causal inference. So we try to understand what interventions lead to what kind of outcomes. So let me just state that all views shared in this lecture are my own, and they do not represent Amazon. Unfortunately, I can't really talk too much in the Q&A about what I do here, or I don't have any data from the actual work that I'm doing because I'm in the People Experiences Technology Department, and I did sign an NDA, and I talked to legal. I got approval for this talk, but they just said I can't really put any data or talk about any specific modeling that I'm doing. So please keep that in mind. I had a panel at UConn last week, and students were asked kind of really the down in dirty details of what I was doing, and I was really upset that I couldn't give them the answers. So just please keep that in mind. So about myself, I have a BA in economics and a master's in quantitative economics from the University of Connecticut. I have a MS in data science from Central Connecticut State University. I say I have it, but I'm technically just kind of editing my thesis right now. It's all written. I have the 80 pages done. Anticipated graduation is in December. So that's essentially, I think I have it. I'm also a research technician at the University of Connecticut, so I work remotely. I do some research with pedagogy, trying to understand what skills incoming freshmen may or may not have, and how do we get them more prepared for the labor force, especially because the labor force, as you know, it's changing rapidly. It's so different than it was 2 years ago, and by the time you students graduate, it's going to be fundamentally changed. So there was some things that came out with Anthropic the last couple of days with AI agents, and it's just a reality now. But this is kind of your advantage, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit down below. So, like I said, I'm an economist apprentice at Amazon. Been here about 5 months. I'm absolutely love it. I don't know if this is the honeymoon phase or not, but I'm still absolutely loving it here. Everyone is very nice. We have about 400 to 500 economists here. So we had an econ summit. Senior economists taking me under their wing, applied scientists teaching me about LLMs and all these cool new skills. And I really love my time here. It's a very good decision to come out. So I just have a little bit of tips for your academic journey and beyond, something that I kind of used. It's just develop skills and keep the faith that hard work will pay off. So I think especially in my graduate degrees, I had a little bit of questions, oh man, was this going to pay off? Some of my friends were making, respectable money, and I was still studying, putting a lot of hours in, developing skills, learning Python better, learning data analysis, learning my R skills, SQL, kind of theoretical econometric modeling. And I just got to say, keep the faith, because I never thought that I would have the options that I had before I came here. I had an option to be a full-time professor at Nichols College, Department of Defense. So I did have a couple different options, and I chose Amazon. I never thought I'd be in that position. So I was really focused on developing skills, as you can tell with my MS in quantitative economics, and then I got another MS in data science. And I just really wanted to kind of, for lack of better terms, almost like bulletproof myself, right, in the future, because I knew that the labor market was going to fundamentally change as an economist, and I really wanted to build these skills to make sure that in the next 10 or 15 years, the likelihood of me having a job are still pretty high. And this is really, I have to say this is really your opportunity, especially as a freshman or sophomore right now. I understand that your junior high school experience might have been a little bit different with COVID. I can't imagine how difficult it must have been for everyone, not only academically, but socially, going online for a year. But all that hardship that you endured, this is really your opportunity because you have a double whammy here. One, like I said, the labor market is changing. There's skills, there are things being created like knowledge graphs, LLMs, AI agents, the last couple weeks that you can learn. So I have to, outside of work on my time, like at night, I still try to learn these skills with MLU, Machine Learning University, Amazon, like the cloud, AWS. But you can learn those skills right now when you're in college. And that's a major advantage because a lot of people, it's very hard. They go home to a family after and they can't really learn that on top of having a job. And the double part of that is you're at Bentley University. It's the number one ranked regional school. They are extremely cutting edge. I'm only really familiar with Professor Frydenberg, but the work that he does in the metaverse, going to Meta, I mean, that's very, very impressive and it's extremely cutting edge. So they're about 4 or 5 years ahead, which is extremely impressive, especially for an academic university. So get really excited and take advantage of this opportunity. So you're at a good time and you're at a great school. It couldn't be better for you. And I have to stay positive. I definitely have a glass half full approach, so much so where it kind of annoys my friends, even when we get stuck on a train in Seattle going to chess club. But I really can't under overstate that rather enough. It's just you're building habits right now. And to stay positive, even if you don't agree with some assignments or some things may not make sense, stay positive, have a good approach because I can kind of see that in the workplace sometimes. We just had an RTO mandate 5 days a week. Some people aren't really the happiest about that because we only come in 3 days a week right now. Listen, I can't change that. I'm actually looking at it as a positive because now I get to be spend more time around these brilliant minds. I have more time around the coffee and water cooler. We have more time to socialize and collaborate off ideas. So I can really see the difference right now, and that's why I said that because I'm always staying positive, and I can see some people that they're really not. They're letting it get to them, and then that kind of impacts their day to day. So just a little bit about the importance of data, and then we'll get into some visualizations. So data is at the core of Amazon strategy. It drives all decisions across all levels of the organization, and it really does inform everything. It can optimize efficiency and effectiveness. They have data-driven insights lead to continuous improvements in supply chain management. So think when we had, 3-day prime, then it was 2-day prime, now it's 1-day prime. And when I got to Seattle, I was shocked because as I was ordering things from my apartment when I first got here, it was like 3 or 4 hours and it was here. It is ex I didn't really get that in Connecticut where I'm from. I kind of had to wait the 2 or 1 days. But it's driving optimization through data and it's kind of predicting what people are going to need and it's stocking those inventory and warehouses close to prepare for that. So it's a lot of descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, and then predictive analytics, kind of coming together to deliver optimization. But they all do it through data. It's because they have previous trends and histories, and they understand that, and they try to extrapolate it to the future, accounting for different seasonality and different effects. And this definitely shapes their strategy. So they use data to identify, like I said, the market trends, customer preferences, depending on the regions, gender, everything. But it's all through data. And it's really, really, really cool part that got me actually hooked into economics when I first took my econometrics class. Because I first came to economics, which you'll see on the next slide, as pretty much I wanted to be originally a finance guy. And then listening to Ray Dalio, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, they all thought that economics was kind of a decent skill to learn within finance. But then when I took my first couple data classes in econometrics, I absolutely fell in love because I was shocked, just shocked at the power of data. And that's really what I want to try to get home to today with the A/B testing of just what kind of experimental designs data can produce. So this is one of my favorites. So when done properly, data visualizations can convey a lot of data in a simple to digest way. And it's like I said, I was really big into macroeconomics in the stock market. So I love graphs like this. And if you ever run through a 10Q, so this is a quarterly report, all this information, it's all on different pages. They have costs, they have revenue, and you have to flip through, hold things in your head, and then try to subtract them off, try to get percentages. But this right here is just a really good way to show how the company's doing at an aggregate level through data visualizations. So a kind of cool thing here is you can see that AWS, the revenue here grows at about 19% year over year. And that's about two-thirds of its operating profit. So they make a lot of money on AWS and they seem to be growing. So that might be something that you'd be interested in as an investor. Their advertising is also growing pretty well, and there's a decent margin on that. You can look a little bit at the cost of sales, the operating expenses. So this is called the Sankey diagram, and it's just a really cool way to look at flows. And I have to say, this is always been one of my favorite visualizations when I look at companies because it's just a really, really good way to get a lot of information and it conveys it in a very simple way. So I can get the point here within like 20 or 30 seconds. And like I said, if you haven't read a 10Q or a 10K, 10K is your annual, just look up after this any company you want. I won't say any names. It's really up to you, whatever you're interested in, oil company, um, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, anything. Just look it up and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about here. It's a lot of numerics. You have to keep a lot in your head. It's really unclear what the actual trend is in the business, what's growing, and what's driving the net incomes. So this is just a dashboard, and it's kind of a little bit of storytelling with data. So I got these on offline. This is Windsor.ai. I couldn't, I don't really do anything with ads anyways. So this was good. I don't have dashboard stuff. I kind of run more experiments. But again, you can see the impressions, which this is just how many people saw the ads, and you can see the clicks, and you can kind of see each day to day. So maybe you want to actually map this to the actual day. Maybe one's a Monday, a Friday, and then you can put more ad spend into areas that have more impressions because you're going to have more eyeballs on average. So you want to put more money there. And this is also, I kept this kind of for a reason. I think this might be a little bit of an example of almost a bad data visualization because to me, it starts with May 15th here on the right-hand side and it goes to May 28th. And intuitively, I would always think of time as in the opposite. So time continues as X increases. But that's just the way that I think. And it's kind of just showing you that when you create data or data visualizations, it's really an art. There's no really standard way to do it, and that's kind of what I like about coding too. You have a blank script, and it's your canvas. And it's kind of the same thing with any kind of data visualization. So you just have the aggregate spend, the sales, you have the time period here, so you could drop this down and do any time period. And this is an example of a dashboard, and it's very interactive. And again, it can give you trends and insights into what may or may not be working. If you have something that really spikes up here, then you have to kind of do some diagnostic analytics and understand what might be driving that result. And that might have to do a little bit of research. So maybe the stock market was booming that day. Maybe they cut interest rates and people were spending because they're really happy and get lower mortgage rates, maybe if they refinance or, anything like that. So this just kind of tells you the trends, and then you have to examine what's going on in the company or the macro economy to figure out maybe why those trends have occurred. But dashboards are very powerful, and they're used mostly if you're a data analyst, business intelligence engineer, or anything like that. So this is a pretty basic visuals, but I just kind of want to hit home the point here that sometimes when you combine or you create many pieces of information, you can start to paint a bigger picture. So let's say this graph here is sales, and you can see that from January to May, sales of this unit have really increased. But if you create another graph and separate the sales by group, you can see that it's really group A and some little bit of group B driving these sales. And so that's a good thing where combining two pieces of information can really hit home a point. Maybe this is not only groups of people, maybe it's regions and locations. So maybe this is like barbecue mats in New England, and group A is New England. Group D is still somewhere up in North Dakota that might not be getting ready for summer in April or May. They're just small examples. And it's not really too much to understand. You can create these very easy in either Excel, Python, R, any kind of stuff like that. So now we get on to the stuff that I really get excited about, and that's A/B testing. So I'm gonna keep the stats out and really just try to hit home on the methodology of it and kind of what it can do. Although I don't have any real data, which I would love to show you because some of it is mind-blowing. It's really cool what kind of experimentation and results you can uncover with some kind of causal A/B testing. So the whole idea is that we run experiments by systematically testing different variables. And then Amazon can determine what changes lead to better outcomes and then deliver increased customer satisfaction. So, side note, there's about 16 leadership principles here, and customer obsession is one of them. So we hear that all the time in meetings, and I'm still getting used to. It's just customer obsession, customer obsession. How can we deliver for the customer? So getting from 2 day to 1 day to a couple hour Prime, or Prime Video. How can we create more videos that customers will like? And there was actually a thing when Mr. Bezos was here, he'd actually keep an empty seat in a lot of the meetings because he that seat would represent the customer. So they're very, very focused on customer satisfaction. And the first, I don't know, probably 20 years of the company, they didn't really make a lot of profit because they were really interested in delivering this customer satisfaction through data analytics, getting the prime, getting the delivery down as quick as possible because they understood people want things when they purchase it. So with A/B testing, you're testing variables. You can test a wide range of variables. A lot of times on Prime website, it's like the website layout, product recommendations, pricing strategies, promotional content. Sometimes it's where the reviews are, so how they show the reviews. It might lead to different outcomes whether you purchase or not. So each test, you have an A and then a B with different variations, and the test aims to optimize different aspects of the customer journey. And the impact of changes is measurable using KPI, which key performance indicators, which a lot of times conversion rate, customer satisfaction scores. Like I said, it's really all about how the customer is being satisfied or, what their feelings are. How can we make them better? How can we make their experience at Amazon better? And then the engagement metrics, which are just a lot of time spent on website clicks, like we saw on the last page with advertising. Those kind of go intertwined. So they use these insights to make informed decisions. So this is kind of what an A/B test looks like. It's a crucial tool for enhancing customer experience because it allows the business to test different variations of their products to see which one performs better. We don't want to just kind of randomly try and put it out there to everyone because if it doesn't perform well, we don't want to lose trust with the customers. And they track this data on the measure of impact through testing on experiments. And like I said, these metrics, bounce rates, conversion, and just something that kind of just starting to get used to now is the data engineering aspect of it. So a lot of times we talk to data engineers, and if you're really like coding, there's a lot of opportunity for data engineering. So it's kind of getting these click rates, getting these time on page, bounce rates, cleaning it, making a pipeline for it, storing it in a warehouse or a data lake for someone like me, then go query it. So we spend a lot of time just to make sure that the variables aren't changing names or anything small like that from year to year. Because when we run a model and then we put all this data into the model, when the new data comes in, if there's anything that's changed, even with the way data values are classified or the way data's labeled, that's really going to throw the model off and sometimes have an error. So we work closely with the data engineering team with that, and that could be a career path for people with better coding background. I know that's probably not myself. I just code really for data science, but I'm learning a tremendous amount here in five months. So as we can see here, we have 50% visitors see variation A, 50% visitors see variation B. And then you can see the picture here. There might just be a small change in the thing that's highlighted. So maybe that's just what the customer views. How many stars? Maybe they don't have in parentheses how many people rated it. It could be anything. You'll see an example on the next slide. And then we have an outcome, right? We capture these key performance metrics of what conversion, how many percent are people that see this are buying it, and then you try to compare that. And the big thing here is this right here, the sample splitting, because you have to make sure that this 50% is not only randomly split, but you want to kind of cluster and then you want to stratify. So let's say, for example, we have 30, like the 30% people who spend the most on Amazon. you don't want to put them in one group, right? You kind of want to split them up because it would artificially look like people are converting this. Oh, this variation A is fantastic. Look at it. All these people are buying things off it. But these people were high spenders anyways. They were going to buy anyways. Or depends what the product is. Go back to maybe our barbecue mat example. If it's wintertime and you're putting all your visitors here in Florida, well, there's not a lot of people in New England buying barbecue mats in the wintertime. So it's going to look artificially like it's driving conversion rates. So it's really, really a lot of it right here is in the sampling. And that's kind of what the economist is more trained in thinking about different macroeconomic effects. Different genders might like different things. So you try to create that a sample that's representative of the population, but then you account for different macroeconomic variables. A lot of times you don't really have income, but with Amazon, we do kind of have proxies for that with how much they spend, etc. So now I'll get through a couple examples of A/B testing at Amazon. So I found this cool visual online. And again, you have a version A, and then you can see the differences and version B. And then you're just essentially testing what the customer likes more because you want to drive results. And it's not only driving results for our company, it's also driving results for the third-party sellers because that's, creating more income in the economy, the circular flow. So it's kind of better for everyone. Customers are happy, the third-party sellers, whoever's selling it on Amazon might be more happy. And Amazon's happy because they have more sales, which means it could be more profit or money to put into AWS and these massively lucrative businesses. So this is just an example from A/B testing on Amazon.com. We talked a little bit about this on the previous couple slides. That was mostly my example with Amazon.com. So they just try to determine many things, but the most common is like page layout or search, which search functions produce the best results, especially now with um, I know a lot of people on my team, they're applied scientists, so they're really, really spending a lot of time on LLMs and trying to figure out what kind of LLMs could be better for search. So like I said, I'm in the PXT department, not Amazon.com or Amazon stores. But I assume they're probably doing something very similar, trying to figure out how LLMs can be effectively used to deliver customer experience and what they may or may not want. Maybe we find out that customers don't want LLMs. They like to search the way it is, and that's fine, but we need to run A/B testing to understand what the customer wants, right? Essentially. So here we have a different website layout. Let's say they're just showing shoes. So we just show one, a left or a right here. Have this, little description above here. And then we have a B sample, which might have two, both left and right. Might have some other stuff over here, product recommendations on the top. And then, okay, you can see that 64% accounting for your sample splitting, which is very important. 64% convert with this, showing this picture of the shoes or this kind of version. So that's what you want to go to. So it's pretty simple when you think of it kind of like this. It gets more into details with the stats and making sure that when you compare these results, you have to, have a lot of power and statistical tests, which I won't really bore you with. But just get excited that this is what data can do. And it's really cool because these are how decisions are really done here. Uh, I was shocked how much A/B testing is really done, even for the stuff that we do. An example on Prime Video. So they test different interface layouts, like where the Watch Now button is placed or how many rows of content should be displayed on the home page to maximize engagement. So I'm guessing that showing the 1 through 10 top trending is very, very good in A/B testing because not only Prime does it, but Netflix does it, and a lot of people, Hulu, they all kind of show what the top trendings are, and that gets you to click on what's really popular now, what's interesting now, and a lot of times that's actually what I like. So I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but whatever's trending, it happens to be something that is awesome, and I really like it. But it's getting clicks, right? So it's testing something like that. And again, you have to account the sample splitting, someone who watches a lot of Prime Video or someone who doesn't watch a lot of Prime. Uh, So you have to take that into account and to make sure that you're not just putting everyone who watches Prime here in the B sample. So that way, when everyone's clicking on this variation, Well, they were going to click anyways because they're spending 4 or 5 hours a day on Prime. Where some of us here in the control, if it wasn't split perfectly, we might only be able to get 20 or 30 days, 30 minutes rather, at night, kind of to relax. So you can also put your results into a graph. This kind of shows a little bit, with the arrows. So it's not all stats. It's kind of goes back to the data visualization. Because when you sh show this stuff in a document to your boss, you want to convey information quickly. You don't want a table full of numbers. You want just percent increases. Is it statistically valid? And what should the next step be for the business so he can give his strategic input? So A/B testing at AWS, the moneymaker here. I love AWS. I actually, as a data scientist, I am absolutely shocked at some of these tools. So they do have free tiers, and if you guys want, or ladies, I say guys, just it's kind of just my natural instinct, but whoever can, I really suggest maybe starting a free tier and just playing around with this stuff on a Friday, Saturday night. I was absolutely shocked at some of the tools. So in my data science training, I was really trained to do like split validation sets, test sets, training sets, doing a lot of this splitting. And there's a tool now would you just call an API, and it does it with one line of code. It's phenomenal. I'm absolutely shocked at these tools with AWS. And I wish I kind of knew them earlier because now I'm almost in creation mode. I'm trying to think of, how can I create? How can I add value to the economy? Because there are such skills here where you can use Python scripts and automate processes on conditional triggers and use Lambda functions. And oh, it's really, really cool. Really, really cool stuff. But just a little side talk there. But the AWS, they might run tests to compare conversion rates of users who are introduced to the free tier versus given a limited trial. And it measures the rate at which these users upgrade to paid services because that's ultimately what we want them to do. So for my example, if I'm using the free tier and maybe I find a model that uses LLMs and scrapes data from Yahoo Finance and it's have it, locked into a Schwab API, maybe it's trading for me and it's making a little bit of money. Well, I'm definitely going to upgrade my AWS account and get more compute power at the EC2, and I'll have a lot more options for more stocks I can download because I'll have more compute, and then AWS will be making money off that. So that's kind of what they want to show off their product, and that's really the whole point of a lot of the A/B testing they do there. But they absolutely do a lot of A/B testing on AWS. Maybe for different interfaces with APIs, different calls, what people like, what people don't like. A/B testing is also at Alexa. So they test different voice response formats for Alexa to see which results in higher satisfaction. So for example, Alexa team may A/B test responses that are shorter and more direct versus those that provide additional information. And I know a lot of surveys are actually done right now with Alexa. It'll have a lot of questions because one of my really good friends here works in the Alexa department, and they're really interested in how can they make Alexa better. And a lot of times they have little follow-up feedback, and it's sample splitting too. So they can't just someone who's always ordering off Alexa, they're not really just interested in that person. They're interested in capturing everyone else essentially, so that they can start using Alexa more. What are they using it for? Are they asking it for the weather? Are they asking it for math problems? Are they asking it for music? So I can't really talk too much what he's finding, but those are kind of what things people use Alexa for. They're trying to capture them by that's the way they use them now. So without getting too complicated, A/B testing can be expanded to multivariate testing, which tests more than just an A/B. So an A, B, a C, a D. So this is an example I found online that actually uses Amazon. So you can have the control, a treatment one, a treatment two, which they have highlighted here as the winner. And so it's not just A and B. So I know that could be a question for some students. Well, what if I have a third or fourth variation? Well, you could run a whole bunch of A/B testing, or you could just, add different variations in. But again, the whole thing here is that your sample splitting has to be appropriate, which on the next page, I get into essentially a good research design mechanism that is a good way how we kind of test that I didn't really get in school. So it's the next one. Oh, so the A/B testing design to make sure that everything is running smoothly with the sample. They a lot of times they will use AA testing, which this is new to me since I've been here. I learned A/B testing in grad school, in undergrad, but I've never really heard of the AA test till I got here, and it makes a lot of sense. So it validates your experimental design, and it makes sure that your sample essentially is running a good split. So both customers see the same thing, and in theory, there shouldn't be much of a difference. So if we go back to that example where our first 50% of people are all people that really buy a lot of goods on Prime, even though they are seeing the same thing as the treatment group or the control group, they might have a massive increase because they just spend more. So, or they might be from a different demographic group, which might be more interested in the product. They might be from a different geographic region. There's a lot of different things that they could be interested in. But this right here is really, which is pretty cool about it. So it's the AA testing and it validates experimental design. And again, you can make these with visuals. So these are just arrows, but you can make these bar graphs, especially if you have like an A, B, and a C testing. You might just want to make that simple bar graph of percent conversion rates. You can make them clustered if you have different experiments over different dates. And yeah, that's most of what I wanted to talk about. So I want to thank you guys for allowing me this opportunity. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at adampatterson@uconn.edu. And then I have this QR code, which it might not work on the bottom when you click the link, but to the right, when there's a little box next to it, if you click that and then open link, it works. At least it did when I tested it.
I'm happy to. We do have a little bit of time to entertain questions from anyone that's here now. Which is, if you have a question, please feel free to come off mute and ask it, or place it in the chat, and we'll make sure that Adam gets it. Adam, I guess I have a question to get started. I'm curious. For instance, the Sankey diagram that you showed at the beginning, which was the graphical representation of the Amazon Q2 financials. How do you create that?
So this I got offline, but you can create a Sankey diagram with Python, which I did actually at my orientation here. So I had a week orientation where they gave us some data sets, and I've always wanted to learn how to do a Sankey diagram. So I did learn how to do it with Python, with a little bit of help from chatbots too.
Nice.
So they have like a template for it, and then to get the colors right, so that has really nice colors. But that's actually what I use a lot for finance and investing. Just kind of I'm a macro trends guy, so I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take anything that I say as for the students out there as to go buy things. But for me, I like macro trends. So like Visa was probably my biggest inflation play because they make about 3% on purchases. So if you have a loaf of bread, let's say it's $100, with inflation it goes up to 200, they still make 3%. Their business model is essentially unchanged as long as people are still consuming. And they make a lot of money through, I can see through the Sankey diagram, through cross-border transactions. So that's really one of the things that would take a hit if the economy was bad. People aren't traveling as much. So you try to outweigh those things. But those are kind of things that I can see through a Sankey diagram, what drives. So for me as an investor, like I said, that's really what brought me to economics. I absolutely love stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of times I just get them online. There's some really cool websites, macro trends and stuff like that.
Awesome. We did get a couple of questions on the way in. So the first one is just, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're facing right now in your job?
Oh, for me, it was probably the time expectation, to be quite honest. So delivering like two models within a couple weeks, and then just the time pressure, I guess. I'm not really used to that because a lot of this work that I did before, I was a research technician or as a adjunct professor. So I'm kind of researching at my own pace when I deliver papers. But now that we have deadlines to meet, it's not like too stressful, but it definitely puts the pressure on, especially because one of the leadership principles here is deliver results. So my manager Whenever he looks at you, he's like, all right, it's time to deliver results. It's like you look at him and like, okay, I know what time it is. I gotta deliver. But that's really only thing that some of my challenges. But I think that's just because I'm kind of new here and I don't really know the pace that which tech operates. They operate in a very rapid pace because something that we're working on, and if we're working on it for 2 or 3 months, that might be antiquated in 2 or 3 months. Especially like some of the stuff with AWS. I mean, these LLMs, people are working on knowledge graphs and the applied scientists that just came out really. Um, so like new methods, they're making things more efficient with low latency and less compute. And something that worked 3 or 4 months ago might be obsolete. We're finding that a lot right now at the LLM space. So it's just keeping up with the pace of things and always trying to learn. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. This is your opportunity for students, 100%. You can learn this stuff originally. I had to kind of learn older stuff. And I remember one of my classes in economics, my professor was bragging about these are the notes he used from 1982. And I mean, that's fine, but things have changed so much in 40 years in economics. Um, it was kind of sad to me that, I had to endure that, but this is not you, right? Like I said, you guys go to Bentley, which is super cutting edge. And you're living in a time where you should really be developing the skills that not only where the ball's right now, but like Wayne Gretzky said, you don't skate to where the puck's going. You don't skate to where the puck is right now. You skate to where the puck's going. And when you guys hit the labor market in 3 or 4 years, the puck is going to be moved from what it is right now. So learn the skills now and then build on top of it. It's really your opportunity. Get excited. I would love to be a student right now, especially all the stuff that I'm having to learn. You guys can learn from the ground up. It's really, really great opportunity.
Thank you, Adam. We have a lot of CS 100 students, and in CS 100, we have a very strict late penalty, and that comes with a lot of groans from the students. But I think what you just said about having your deliverables turned around on time speaks highly as to why we do that. So thank you for that. Thank you for that that plug. This next question is, when it comes to your growth in your career, is there a certain topic that's been hardest for you to grasp or understand? Like what was the thing that you have? And I guess I would add, like where should a student, we have a lot, as I said, a lot of our freshmen CS 100 students, where would you recommend they focus their next couple of years in their education?
I would just try to develop as many technical skills as I could. That's kind of going off what you said about sometimes students don't like the turnaround. In my master's program, when I was doing Python, we had very strict teacher, and all of our quizzes and exams were 40 minutes in class. And if you didn't submit, I mean, you get the document right in the beginning of class, and if you submitted at 41 minutes or 42 minutes, you get a zero. And she'd be walking around the room. She'd like 10 minutes left, 10 minutes left, hurry up, 5 minutes left. The first couple times I did not do well in those quizzes, I'll be honest with you. And then I started to get the pressure. I started to understand and perform under pressure is like nothing to me. And where I'm getting with this is that my technical interview at Amazon, I had 40 minutes with someone watching me. I had two data sets. I had to use a programming language, R or Python. I had to merge the data sets, fill in the missing values, perform a couple visualizations, and then run an econometric model. At the very end, I had to talk about if I had more time, what kind of methods would I do with the econometric model? It was nothing for me because I was trained kind of in something that I thought was a little bit overwhelming to me in my education. I'm like, wow, this is cruel, right? Like, well, this is crazy. But she was really preparing me for the future. And I think that's kind of what you're doing with the students. Maybe they don't like the turnaround, but you're just preparing them for the future. It's almost like a tough love. And it goes back to what I said in the beginning, stay positive. Right? Trust the university you're at. It's number one regional in New England. They know what they're doing. Look at people who go, the alumni that come out of Bentley. They're extremely successful for a reason. It's because they're building these labor market skills. They're building the skills that people need to succeed in life. So and it goes back to the first thing, have faith. Have faith in the process. Have faith and develop the skills. And the hardest topic for me that's really hard to grasp. Well, it's tough for me because um, Amazon only hires PhD economists. And I did about a year in a PhD program, and then I switched to get a master in data science. So I was a funded student at UConn. They kind of asked me to stay after my master's if I would like to do a PhD. And then I realized that I really wanted to kind of learn data science skills and more technical skills. But now that I'm working with all PhD economists, the thing that's hardest for me to grasp is that they just have such training and knowledge that I don't have, with different standard errors and clustering and Bonferroni correction tests. And I'm trying to keep up and learn from them, but that's probably more specific for me. But it's just, I think that'd probably be anyone, honestly, when they first get to the job. People have been doing this for 10, 15 years in their industry, for like managers, and just don't get intimidated. Just show that your willingness to learn. Again, stay positive, say, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, and then just get working on the project.
The next question is, it picks up on that excellently, which is, do you think the CIS major is still relevant, based on, or based on what's happening, especially with the introduction of AI?
Oh, of course. Yeah. So that's the thing that as I'm learning LLMs and I'm taking these machine learning university courses, you understand that the strengths and weaknesses of it. Um, to understand the strengths and weaknesses of it, that can really make you use it as a tool. So that little saying that AI is not going to take your job, but someone using AI will, I believe 100% in that. So I don't think that these AI agents, because they're always going to need checks. They're not perfect. So sometimes you need a good prompt engineering or you need a good human to kind of put guardrails on it. Nothing's perfect. I don't think it'll ever be perfect. But it kind of goes back to the tools that AWS that I'm absolutely shocked that they have with the data science. I do need a little bit of data science training, and I'm grateful for that. So you kind of understand the process and different hiccups when they come. So I don't think that I could have just got into these AWS tools for data science if I didn't have a data science background, because I wouldn't really know where it goes or like where the troubleshooting is. So absolutely. But of course, you probably have to understand that uh, we can't use GPT here. We have our own internal uh, Anthropic chatbots, but a lot of the applied scientists, when I walk by their desk, they're absolutely kind of manipulating different code and stuff like that with chatbots. But they use it alongside, but they're not being replaced. Absolutely not. And I still think it's a great thing to learn from like the data engineering point, because we have all this data. You still need to create pipelines, and you still need people to make sure these processes are running smoothly. And I'm on the Amazon soccer team here, which is a lot of AWS people, and they're always on call. So some of them bring their laptops to the game, and if they get pinged, they'll have to go off. I haven't seen it yet, but they're always on call because we need humans, right? We need humans to diagnose these problems. You can't have AI agents be trusted solving these problems when they bog down. We need answers right now. So absolutely, it's, in my humble opinion, it's definitely needed, and it's actually something I wish I would have got into a little sooner, to be honest. The programming. I didn't really get exposed to it till later on in my career, but now that I'm doing a lot of Python, it's beautiful. Oh, I love the code from the applied scientists. They have like different scripts feeding in and loggers and stuff I didn't even know it could do, and it's awesome. CS is awesome.
Thank you, Adam. I have one last call for any additional questions. Kelly, do you have anything? Well, thank you very much for joining today, Adam. Your enthusiasm for this space is contagious, and I'm excited to go to MLU and find out what's there and continue. This has been fantastic. Thank you for sharing everything that you did. I know I learned a lot, and I really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you for the opportunity, and
Thank you.
everyone have a good end to the semester.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.